Japan is a country of contrasts. It is home to some of the most advanced technology in the world, yet it also has a strong reverence for tradition. One of the things Japan is most known for is its food, and some of the most popular Japanese dishes include sushi, ramen, tempura, and sashimi. Japanese anime and manga have also gained worldwide popularity in recent years. Japan is a country which never stops fascinating, and in today's video, we'd be talking about how life would be for a person born in Japan. So get ready as we virtually live in Japan through this video, from start to finish. Let's begin with the birth of a baby in Japan. Home births are common in Japan, and many women choose to have their babies at home with the help of a midwife. A midwife is a person who has been trained to help women give birth to babies. After the birth, the woman is expected to stay in bed for 7 days. This is seen as a time for her to rest and recover from childbirth. Then, a ritual named Oikazuma is performed after the 7-day confinement. The woman takes a bath and is dressed in new clothes. She then offers food and drink to her ancestors. Warm soups and hot drinks are often part of a postpartum tradition. Mochi, pounded brown rice dumplings, and miso soup is a traditional Japanese food given to mothers after birth. This omamori is a traditional Japanese gift to wish for children's happiness and luck. Omamori is a lucky charm and derives from the word mamoru, meaning to protect. They're usually small fabric bags with a prayer inside written on paper or wood. Many believe that opening and reading it brings bad luck. In Japan, showering or washing hair is prohibited until 7 days after birth, including in hospitals. It is tradition for the baby to reside at their maternal grandparents' house during their first month, alongside their mother. The mother and baby typically stay in bed for the first 21 days following birth. Visitors are welcome to stop by and enjoy a special red bean and rice dish, osikahan. The baby spends the first few years of his life with his mother, not with his father or grandparents. Dads in Japan usually work 6 days a week and see their babies very rarely. The most important contribution of the father after the birth of the baby is to announce the name of the newborn to the family on the 7th day after birth. Names that end in hiko, suke, or hai are usually male names, for example, Fumihiko Kasuke Kohai. Male names also often end in o or shi, for example, Tetsuo Hiroshi. Meanwhile, names that end in I, yo, mi, na, ko, or ka are usually female names, for example, Issei, Ryo, Kazumi, Fumina, Ayuka, Mariko. In Japan, it is unusual to hire nannies because mothers often don't trust strangers, so they entrust childcare to their mothers, sisters, or mothers-in-law. Not surprisingly, a particularly intimate relationship is established between the child and the mother. The child is dependent on the mother and is cared for unconditionally. Mothers pay as much attention to their offspring as possible. Even after growing up to the age of preschooler and schooler, it's common for the children to sleep with their parents in the same bed. The mother tries to hold the child close to herself as often as possible in order to minimize stress. Parents follow the principle of learning from mistakes when raising their children. They believe that by the age of 5, a child needs to grow up and get to know the world without adult intervention. In Japan, a child under the age of 5 is considered king. Parents try not to discipline their babies, but to explain to them the possible consequences of misbehavior. The biggest punishment for a child in Japan is to disappoint or cause shame on their mother or family with their behavior. Some parents, however, are actually absent, dropping their kids off at daycare or even paying people to take care of their kids. Rich families often do this. Others simply leave their 6-year-olds alone at home or with older siblings. The relationship between siblings ends up being something quite strong, and many grow up with the care of older siblings. Compulsory education lasts for 9 years in Japan, between the age of 6 and 15. However, children as young as 3 years old are usually enrolled in Japanese kindergarten or a nursery school if both of their parents work. During this period of time, the school curriculum covers Japanese, social studies, mathematics, science, music, arts and crafts, and physical education. This stage of learning usually starts at age 6 and continues for 6 more years until the age 12 years old. A large share of time spent in elementary school is learning how to write and read Japanese katakana and hiragana, which is the Japanese syllabary, and kanji, which are the ideographic Chinese characters taken from the Chinese script used in the writing of Japanese. Typically, most students learn the English alphabet in the 4th grade. English is currently required in the 5th and 6th grade but is taught through informal activities rather than as a graded subject. A festival named Shishigo-san celebrates the growth and development of children aged 3, 5, and 7. Children typically wear traditional Japanese clothing and visit a shrine or temple to pray for their continued health and happiness. Children in Japan are also independent. There are children as young as 6 who take bus trips alone across the country to their grandparents' homes. 9-year-old girls often take trains to go to theme parks alone. Of course, before this independence, they learn everything from their parents and in schools. Children are encouraged from an early age to form pairs between boys and girls, the elderly and young people, and children of different ages. The objective of these activities is to create a social relationship between these people to overcome the problems that adolescents face. Unfortunately, this has not always had good results. Later, until the age of 15, the child is brought up rigorously. He is considered an adult from the age of 15. Starting from the beginning of their 3rd year in middle school and earlier for some go-getters, students do nothing but study. They are expected to quit most of their extracurriculars from about halfway through the year. Most of them get tutored outside of class. You can get books with copies of the entrance exam for the school that you want to go to from past years. Some students don't even do any homework for the middle school they're going to, opting instead to focus their energy on the lessons they're getting outside of school. Most of them try to do both, and that means they have to schedule pretty much all of their time very carefully. For the first 2 and a bit years of students in high school and also sometimes in middle school, most Japanese children join a sports team. Specifically, about 60% of my students joined a sports team. We offered soccer, soft tennis, volleyball, basketball, and track and field, and about 20% joined a cultural club, such as art club or the brass band. The bus to go home leaves at 6:15 for most of the year, after the teams and clubs are done. So the 20% of kids who don't join teams either have to walk home, and some of them do if they live nearby, or wait for the bus, and the classrooms always have a few stragglers who don't have a choice. Those clubs meet from about 4:30 to 6 o'clock, at least 4 days a week, Monday through Friday, and often Saturday and Sunday too. Most of them see it as fun. The members of your team or club all become your friends. The decision of which team to join is largely a matter of who you want to be friends with or what your friends are doing. Most Japanese people remember what teams they were on 50 years after the fact. But the situation doesn't get any better when they get into high school because the system for getting into colleges is the same. You get into a Japanese college by passing a grueling test, and you only get one shot at it each year, just like high school tests. Fail the test one year, and you'll have to wait until the next year to try again. The test might require you to read things in Japanese from 1200 years ago, which is gibberish if you only speak modern Japanese. Or they'll ask you to read a passage in English with words taken out of it, fill in the missing words, and answer comprehension questions. The high school exams do that too. They are designed to be absolutely frustrating. Trying to teach in a Japanese school is like trying to recite poetry behind the crenellations to a bunch of soldiers who are readying their arrows and boiling oil against hordes that are already preparing their ladders and crossbows. This is mainly because the way employment used to work in Japan was that if you graduated from college, there would be a job fair at your school after graduation, and the companies there were actually going to give jobs to the graduates right then and there. The system is weakening a little, but it's still there. The best companies only go to the best colleges. To get into the best colleges, you have to get into the best high school, and to get into high school, you must pass an entrance examination. Most of the high schools only have one entrance examination each year, so if you fail that year, you'd have to wait another year to try again. If 2 of your top schools have the tests on the same day, you'll just have to choose. Oh, and the kids don't get any breaks. There are a few breaks in the school year. Summer vacation is 1 month, and winter and spring breaks are each about 2 weeks, but they get a huge packet of homework in every subject that they must complete by the end of it. And after you've been accepted into high school, they give you homework to do right then, before you go in, before you've even taken a single class. Omiyagi. When children travel, they are often expected to bring back omiyagi or souvenirs for their family and friends. This is a way of sharing their experiences with others and of showing their appreciation for their loved ones. If you get into a comprehensive high school, you take around 14 subjects in an academic year: Japanese, Chinese literature, taught in Japanese, Kanbun, English, math, chemistry, physics, biology, 2 to 3 classes from world history, Japan history, politics, or economics. The students have cleaning time as well at school. Each student is assigned a position to clean for about 10 to 15 minutes every school day. Lunch provided by community lunch centers or local bakeries are usually very good, however. So, kudos on that, Japan. Once out of high school, children get into colleges as per their scores. In college, students typically take a rigorous course load, which includes a mix of general education and major-specific courses. Classes are typically held in large lecture halls, but there are also smaller discussion sections led by TAs. A TA is a teaching assistant who helps children who need extra support to complete tasks. Many college students in Japan also work part-time jobs to help pay for their tuition and living expenses. Part-time jobs can also help students to gain valuable work experience and make new connections. Usually, they work as tutors, sales assistants, or food runners or catering assistants. Tuition at Japanese universities varies depending on the school, but it is generally more affordable than tuition at universities in the United States or Europe. Once out of college, the majority of people work in industries like finance, insurance, real estate, and telecommunications. People in big cities like Tokyo and Osaka who work in offices are generally referred to as Japanese salarymen. If you consider working one of these jobs, you should assume that you will work lots of overtime, and that once the workday is done, if your manager wants to go out for a drink after work, you'll be expected to join the team. In the past, and still quite evident in companies today, those working for corporations follow an extremely strict hierarchy. There is a distinct relationship between the senpai, experienced, and the kohai, inexperienced. Salarymen drinking themselves to intoxication with their coworkers on a Friday night, passing out on the streets, and waking up to catch the train home has become something of a social phenomenon and marks an interesting feature of life in Japan. Of late, there have been minor but significant alterations in the workplace these days. The conventional path of working for one firm your whole life is progressively fading, with more and more young people opting for various part-time jobs to get more flexibility, going overseas to work, or just remaining at home in smaller towns with local jobs. The Japanese people love their karaoke and take it very seriously, so much so that they have huge complexes dedicated to the karaoke phenomenon. Designed like a fancy hotel, the receptionist takes your money, gives you the key to one of many soundproof rooms, and you trot off inside and sing your little heart out for 2 or 3 hours. Businessmen take their clients to karaoke complexes, often singing with them before clinching a deal, whereas Japanese students use karaoke as a way to socialize. Japanese people always appear to be busy. They move about the streets and railway stations like those little wind-up dinky cars with new batteries, but they do so in silence, calmly. On the whole, daily life in Japan is super calm. Life in Japan is orderly. Where you find a mass of people, you will find rules. Japan train etiquette is something to be marveled at. Thickly painted yellow lines on railway platforms that you must stand behind. Allocated waiting bays for the carriage that matches with your ticket. Seats on the train that are reserved for the elderly or infirm. Stairs in the railway station or in airports with arrows, indicating that you go up on the left and descend on the right. As one advances towards old age in Japan, he is bestowed with extreme respect and reverence. They are seen as a valuable asset to society, and their wisdom and experience is cherished. There are a number of social activities available for the elderly in Japan. These include senior centers, clubs, and volunteer opportunities. These activities provide opportunities for elderly people to stay active, socialize, and learn new things. Some popular activities include gardening, calligraphy, flower arranging, and traditional Japanese dance. The elderly in Japan are generally financially secure. They receive a national pension, and they may also have other sources of income, such as savings or investments. The average monthly pension for an elderly person in Japan is around 200,000 yen, $1,800. Many elderly Japanese people live in their own homes for as long as possible. However, there are also a number of options for elderly people who need more assistance with their daily living. These include retirement homes, nursing homes, and assisted living facilities. And lastly comes the most difficult to talk about yet the natural stage of life: death. After the death of a loved one in Japan, a ritual called Oshinomi is performed, which involves cleaning and tidying the home and offering food and drink to the deceased. Suya is a period of mourning that lasts for 49 days after the death of a loved one. During this time, the family of the deceased will avoid participating in social activities and will focus on their grief. A condolence gift called shogaki is given to the family of deceased by relatives and friends, which typically includes a monetary gift, flowers, and food. Thank you for watching. Which country would you like to see next? Let us know in the comments. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.